U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin met with a handshake in Alaska on Friday, ahead of a high-stakes summit that aims to secure a ceasefire in Europe's deadliest conflict since World War II. President Trump disembarked Air Force One and awaited the arrival of his Russian counterpart on the tarmac. The two leaders exchanged greetings, both smiling, as U.S. F-22 aircraft were positioned prominently on either side of the red carpet, underscoring the gravity of the diplomatic encounter. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who was not invited to the talks, and his European allies have expressed concerns that President Trump might concede too much, potentially freezing the conflict and implicitly recognizing Russian control over a significant portion of Ukraine. However, before boarding Air Force One, Trump sought to assuage these fears, stating that any territorial decisions would be left to Ukraine. "I'm not here to negotiate for Ukraine, I'm here to get them at a table," he told reporters. When asked about his definition of a successful meeting, President Trump emphasized his immediate goal: "I want to see a ceasefire rapidly. I'm not going to be happy if it's not today. I want the killing to stop." For the initial meeting with President Putin, President Trump was joined by Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy to Russia, White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt confirmed. The subsequent, larger bilateral meeting included Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Leavitt added. The Russian delegation accompanying President Putin included Foreign Policy aide Yuri Ushakov and Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov informed CNN. President Trump reportedly hopes a truce in the 3.5-year-old conflict will bring peace to the region and bolster his credentials as a global peacemaker, potentially earning him the Nobel Peace Prize. For President Putin, the summit already represents a significant diplomatic victory, allowing him to portray the meeting as evidence that years of Western attempts to isolate Russia have failed, and that Moscow is reclaiming its influential position in international diplomacy. Russian Special Envoy Kirill Dmitriev described the pre-summit atmosphere as, quote, combative, noting that the leaders would discuss not only Ukraine, but also the full spectrum of bilateral relations, according to Russia's RIA news agency. President Trump, who once stated he could end Russia's war in Ukraine within 24 hours, conceded on Thursday that the task had proven more challenging than anticipated. He indicated that if Friday's talks proved fruitful, quickly arranging a second three-way summit involving President Zelensky would be even more critical than his direct encounter with Putin. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov confirmed that a trilateral summit would be possible if the Alaska talks yielded positive results, Interfax news agency reported. Peskov also projected that Friday's discussions could extend for 6 to 7 hours. President Zelensky, while hoping the summit would pave the way for a just peace and include his participation in future three-way talks, reiterated that Russia was continuing its military actions. A Russian ballistic missile earlier struck Ukraine's Dnipropetrovsk region, resulting in 1 fatality and 1 injury. It's time to end the war and the necessary steps must be taken by Russia. "We are counting on America," Zelensky wrote on the Telegram messaging app.